Annabeth Chase is one of the strongest and most important characters in the Percy Jackson books, and in this video I'm going to explain why that is by going over her entire timeline and life so far. Before we get started, there are some major spoilers for all Rick Riordan's books, so you've been warned. Now let's get started. Annabeth Chase was born to Frederick Chase and the goddess of wisdom Athena. She was considered a brainchild like all the other children of Athena, which means they were born from the thoughts of the goddess. Frederick wanted Athena to raise Annabeth on Olympus because he had no idea the relationship would lead to a child, and he wasn't ready to take care of her. However, Athena told him that demigods were to be raised by their mortal parents and not their godly ones. So Frederick was forced to take Annabeth in and raise her to the best of his ability. Growing up, Annabeth had constant fights with her dad and her stepmom, who felt that she was putting them in danger by being targeted by monsters. Annabeth had twin stepbrothers named Matthew and Bobby, who were treated a lot better than she was. When Annabeth was 7, she would play with her cousin Magnus, but that was put to an end when her family had an argument and they decided to go their separate ways. Annabeth's fear of spiders sparked when Arachne sent a flood of spiders to attack her at night for 3 days in a row. This left her freckled in bites and covered in cobwebs, but they would always disappear, which left no proof. Her stepmother would get very mad at her for this because she thought that Annabeth was trying to scare the twins. Annabeth, feeling like her family hated her, ran away at the young age of 7. She then fought monsters under the guidance of her immortal mother for a few months, using only a mortal hammer. When Luke and Thalia, who were also runaways, ran into Annabeth, they found out that she was also a demigod. They let her join them. Luke promised Annabeth that there would be a family better than her last one and that he would never let anything hurt her, a promise he would later break. Luke gave Annabeth a bronze knife so that she'd be able to protect herself with something better than a hammer for monster slaying. From then on, they were fighting monsters and making hideouts on the East Coast. When they stopped at Luke's house to get some medical supplies for Thalia, Luke met his dad Hermes for the first time. After the encounter, Luke was never the same and he started to act like there was something to prove and became very reckless. Soon after, they ran into Grover Underwood, a satyr who was in charge of taking them to Camp Half-Blood. The four began to travel to Camp Half-Blood but were chased by monsters sent by Hades, still furious and bitter about Zeus having once murdered his beloved Maria D'Angelo for having children. He was hoping to kill Thalia. They were captured by Cyclopses, escaped, and were almost at Camp Half-Blood when a pack of hellhounds and 3 Furies caught up to them. They couldn't outrun them, so Thalia decided to stay behind so that Luke, Annabeth, and Grover could make it safely to Camp Half-Blood. While Thalia held back Hades' approaching armies with her Aegeus shield, Luke was forced to lead a crying Annabeth up to Camp Half-Blood. As Thalia was dying, surrounded by monsters, Zeus took pity on his daughter and turned her into a pine tree so that she wouldn't have to be judged by Hades. During the next 3 years, Annabeth stayed at camp. She also had a big crush on Luke. During this time, she stayed in contact with her father using letters as phones were too dangerous for a demigod. She went to visit him once but quickly returned to camp as the monsters kept attacking her and nothing had changed in her family. Chiron showed Annabeth the great prophecy and told her that she would play a part in it. This caused her to become very curious and she always wondered if new campers were the one, even if they were not children of the big 3. When she was 12 years old, Annabeth met Percy Jackson for the first time. Not long after meeting him, she realized that he was the one, as he was a son of Poseidon. Soon after, Percy received a prophecy to go on a quest to retrieve the lightning bolt from Hades and return it to Zeus. Annabeth, along with Grover, joined Percy on this dangerous quest to the underworld. First, they got attacked by 3 Furies on a bus. They got stuck in a situation with Medusa, and Annabeth realized it was her, and Percy took care of the rest. They then went through other obstacles like retrieving Ares' shield for him, getting stuck at the Lotus Hotel, and getting captured by the monster Percustes. They soon arrived in the underworld to find out that Hades didn't steal the lightning bolt and that he thinks Percy stole his helm of darkness and the lightning bolt. They then come to find that the lightning bolt is in the bag that Ares had gifted them, and they had to escape using the pearls that Percy received. They had to leave Percy's mother behind. When they returned to the mortal world, they found out that Ares wanted the gods to go to war. Percy then fought him and made him flee. Afterwards, Percy returned the helm of darkness and the lightning bolt, while Annabeth and Grover went back to camp. When Percy was poisoned by Luke, he explained to Annabeth while she was tending to him that Luke was an agent of Kronos. She cursed Luke's name, not able to believe he could do such a thing. At the end of the summer, Annabeth decided that she would go back to her father's house. Annabeth followed Percy around on his last day of school so that she could tell him what happened at camp. When Percy gets attacked by Lystrigonian giants in gym class, Annabeth stabs one in the back, making her presence known. She then takes Percy and Tyson to Camp Half-Blood. When there, Percy finds out that Thalia's tree has been poisoned and that the borders of camp are weak. Annabeth found out that Grover had found the Golden Fleece and got captured in the process. She asked Tantalus, the new camp director, if they could go on a quest to retrieve it, but instead he gave the quest to Clarice. Annabeth, Percy, and Tyson left to go on the quest anyways, and went through obstacles on the way. The most notable one is where Percy has to save Annabeth from swimming to the Sirens' Island. This is where we find out that Annabeth's fatal flaw is pride. died. They soon make it to Polyphemus' island, but Annabeth tries to trick him and gets injured in the process. They got the golden fleece, and on the way back, Annabeth uses it to heal herself. They get captured by Luke, but he doesn't get the fleece as Clarice took it to the airport without them. They are saved by Chiron and the party ponies and return to camp, with Chiron taking back his job as camp director. The fleece ended up working too well, and Thalia ended up getting brought back to life, even though she was never really dead. When Annabeth, Percy, and Thalia went to a school to help Grover take some demigods back to Camp Half-Blood, they get into a situation with a monster. Annabeth tumbles off the side of a cliff, and the monster captures Annabeth and takes her to Luke. Luke then used Annabeth to make the goddess Artemis take the sky, which would free Atlas. He also used her to lure the other demigods to him. Percy, Grover, Thalia, Zoe, and Bionica went on a quest to save Annabeth. They succeeded in saving Annabeth, but sadly Zoe and Bionica died in the process. That summer, Annabeth and Percy stumbled across an entrance to the Labyrinth in Zeus's fist while playing Capture the Flag. Annabeth realizes that this entrance can be used by Luke's army to invade Camp Half-Blood. The Oracle gives Annabeth her first quest to lead, but she is under great stress over what is to come. You shall delve in the darkness of the endless maze, the traitor, the dead, and the lost one raised. You shall rise or fall by the Ghost King's hand, the child of Athena's final stand. Destroy with the hero's final breath, and lose a loved one to worse than death. On the quest, Annabeth takes Percy, Grover, and Tyson. They go through many obstacles in the maze, one being when Annabeth thought that the Sphinx's questions were an insult to her intelligence. Also, when Annabeth thought Percy might die with the St. Helens explosion, she gives him a kiss before she leaves him. When the volcano explodes, Percy is sent to Ogygia, and Annabeth believes him to be dead. Percy returns as Annabeth is about to burn his shroud. When she sees him, she hugs him and makes a scene in front of all the campers. But when she finds out where he was, she becomes annoyed and jealous. To finish the quest, they use Rachel to guide them through the labyrinth, much to Annabeth's dismay. Annabeth then realizes what the line in her quest that she was fearing meant, when Luke gives his body up to Kronos to be his vessel. They then make it back to camp, and the Battle of the Labyrinth breaks out. After the battle, Daedalus gives Annabeth his laptop. The next summer is when the Battle of Manhattan breaks out. Annabeth takes a part in the battle. She uses Plan 23 to call several Ottomans to help them fight the battle against Kronos' armies. Annabeth, during the battle, saves Percy from death by taking a poison knife that was heading straight for his weak spot. In the end, Annabeth realizes who the prophecy was really meant for and has Percy hand Luke her knife so he can stab himself in his weak spot and end Kronos. After the battle, Percy tells Annabeth that he has feelings for her. Clarice and some other campers were listening, and they picked them up and threw them into the camp's canoe lake. Percy makes a bubble underwater, and they have an underwater kiss. Annabeth and Percy were a happy couple for the next couple of months until all went wrong. After leaving Percy for the night, Annabeth woke up to find out that he was missing. When Jason, Piper, and Leo came to camp and didn't know anything about where Percy was, Annabeth continued to be devastated. When they returned to camp after their quest, however, a spark of hope ignited as she found out that Percy was at the Roman camp. When the Argo 2 was finished, Annabeth, along with Jason, Leo, Piper, and Coach Hedge, headed to Camp Jupiter to pick up Percy and the other two demigods of the Great Prophecy. Annabeth was finally reunited with Percy and finally happy again until her happiness was interrupted by Leo firing on Camp Jupiter. The 7 demigods and Coach Hedge escaped, and afterward journeyed to Rome to save Nico from the pair of giants. Annabeth was very worried about her last encounter with her mother. Athena told Annabeth to avenge her and destroy the Romans because they were dishonorable and copycats. She gives Annabeth a coin that looks like an old-fashioned subway token, but when she looks upon it, it becomes an ancient Athenian silver drachma with the symbol of an owl and an olive branch with a Greek inscription on the other side. Athena urges Annabeth to follow the mark of Athena and avenge her. No matter how many times she tried to throw away the silver coin, it kept returning to her pocket, just like Percy's sword Riptide. When they arrive in Rome, Annabeth decides she is going to set off on her own quest and follow the mark of Athena. Percy convinces Annabeth to let him come with, and they spend the afternoon together in Rome. But they end up getting split up again when the river spirits come to pick up Annabeth to continue on their quest for the mark of Athena. She goes through many obstacles and has to use her brain and wits, but eventually gets caught by Arachne right when she makes it to the Athena Parthenos. However, she tricks Arachne into thinking that she could get her art displayed on Olympus if she makes a design for Annabeth. Annabeth shows her the design for the Chinese finger trap, and Arachne uses all the silk that she used to wrap the Athena Parthenos to make it. This is what Annabeth wanted because it would therefore free the statue. Annabeth then tricks Arachne into going inside the trap, and she gets caught, which is exactly what Annabeth had planned. Her friends from the Argo 2 come to rescue her, and they start by loading the Athena Parthenos onto the Argo 2. While they are doing this, They don't realize that Annabeth and Percy are being pulled into Tartarus. Annabeth and Percy fell into Tartarus together, and when they arrived, they set on their mission to go to the Doors of Death. They venture across Tartarus and struggle very much in the process as they go through many obstacles while being weak and wounded. They get help from a friendly titan and a friendly giant on the journey of struggles through the Death Pit. They arrive at the Doors of Death, which is the heart of Tartarus. There is a crowd of monsters waiting at the door to get out. They find out that whilst riding up the elevator, somebody has to hold down a button on the other end in order for it to work. They journey through the crowd of monsters unseen due to the death mist that they acquired earlier until it faded off. All the monsters could see them, and they even came face to face with Tartarus himself. All wasn't looking too good until Bob the Titan and Damonson the Giant came to help and sacrifice themselves to help Percy and Annabeth return to the mortal world. After Annabeth and Percy reunite with their team, they travel to Athens to stop Gaia. Annabeth takes part in fighting the giants with the demigods and the gods, but in the process, she gets a cut on her leg and spills blood on the stone, awakening Gaia. Annabeth helps fight in the final battle at Camp Half-Blood until finally the second great prophecy that she played a part in was completed. Annabeth and Percy decided that they are both going to work extremely hard to do all the catching up with school that needs to be done. Then they plan to, in the future, live in New Rome together and attend college. Not so long after, Annabeth learns from her Uncle Randolph that her Aunt Natalie has been dead and her cousin Magnus has been missing for 2 years. She goes to look for Magnus with her dad but doesn't succeed. Later, she finds Magnus at the funeral home where his dead body is. She doesn't completely understand what is going on, but she assumes that Magnus is a demigod and offers to bring him to somewhere safe, which is Camp Half-Blood. He tells her he can't, and she gives him her phone number so that he can tell her what is going on at a different time. After Magnus completes his quest, he calls Annabeth and explains to her about the Norse gods, and in turn, Annabeth explains to Magnus about the Greek. The next encounter they have is when Percy gives Magnus some training for traveling at sea. And that is basically all we really have for her character at the moment. Annabeth proved herself to be important, as if it were not for her, Percy would not have been able to make it through many situations. Annabeth proved herself to be strong as she fought through many hardships. She saved the world multiple times and fought for the people that she loved. Annabeth felt like she didn't have a family, had one, and then had that ripped away from her. In the end, Annabeth is happy and leading on as normal of a life as she possibly could as a demigod. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to help grow the channel. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications so that you never miss a KOST video. You can follow me on my personal Instagram or subscribe to my vlog channel to see some of my personal life. And you can follow me on Twitter or my KOST Instagram to get updates on upcoming videos. Again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.